Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very glad to have the association of His Grace Madhav Sharan Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 6, chapter number 1, sloka number 61 and 62. Prabhuji, over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Haritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are covering the two shlokas 6.1, verse number 61 and 62. Prabhuji, can I share? Can you see the screen?
We can.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 61. Drashtva tam kamaliptena bahuna pari रंभितां जगाम हृच्छय वशं सहसैव विमोहितः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Shudra, his arm decorated with turmeric powder, was embracing the prostitute. When Ajamila saw her, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. But it is said that if one's body is smeared with turmeric, it attracts the lusty desires of opposite sex. The word Kamalipten indicates that the Shudra was decorated with turmeric smeared on his body. 62. Stambayan atmanatmanam yavat sattvam yatashrutam na shashaka samadhatum mano madana vepitam. Translation. As far as possible, he patiently tried to remember the instructions of the Shastras, not even to see a woman. With the help of this knowledge and his intellect, he tried to control his lusty desires. But because of the force of Cupid within his heart, he failed to control his mind. Purport. Unless one is very strong in knowledge, patience, and proper bodily, mental, and intellectual behavior, controlling one's lusty desires is extremely difficult. Thus, after seeing a man embracing a young woman and practically doing everything required for sex life, even a fully qualified Brahmana, as described above, could not control his lusty desires and restrain himself from pursuing them because of the materialist force of the materialistic life. To maintain self-control is extremely difficult unless one is specifically under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service. Hare Krishna. So, this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, basically, that chapter is entitled The History of the Life of Ajamila. So, sixth canto basically explains about there are 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam explains, and sixth canto basically explains about the poshanam or the protection by the Lord. So Ajamila was a gentle Brahmina and a learned Brahmina, and of course he was quite pure also. Um, and why throughout Srimad Bhagavatam the explanations regarding these various stories are given where one becomes succumb to the lusty desires. So why this has been explained throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam? Because this is the basic principle of material existence. And if one has to come out of this material existence, then he has to come out of this karma. So here, the basically the fall down of Ajamila, this section especially what we are reading, that is explaining how Ajamila is seeing the prostitute embracing the Shudra, and how he is falling down in the further verses, how he falls down from his Brahminical position. All those things are explained. So basically in the 61 verse, if we see, it's mentioned Kamaliptena. So Kama Kamaliptena is basically decorating with turmeric. That is what is mentioned, because when the army is decorated with the turmeric powder, the opposite attraction to the opposite sex becomes stronger, and one is more prone to enjoy. That is the whole concept of the materialistic people, to enjoy more and more. So even in the Western world, we see the same similar tendency. They do not know much higher pleasure than the sex pleasure. So similar incidents we can see. So Srila Prabhupada in the previous verse is mentioning it. In Kali Yuga, a drunk, half-naked woman embracing a drunk man is a very common sight, especially in the Western countries. And restraining oneself after seeing such things is very difficult. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that such sites are very common. Which sites? What is happening? Here, Ajamila seeing the sight that the Shudra with his arm decorated with the turmeric powder was embracing the prostitute. So, this is the scene Ajamila is seeing. We can see in the our presentation also how he is seeing that scene, and what happens when he sees that sight. He has not seen it before in this, especially in this particular life. He has not seen this such scene. And when Ajamila saw such sight, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. So it's suddenly coming. So it's mentioned dormant lusty desires. What is meant by dormant lusty desires? It if we see his previous life, we are seeing he is doing the Sandhya Vandana, he is studying the scriptures, if you see the presentation, and he got married to a very chaste wife also. So he's leading a very pure life. Then what exactly happened when he saw the sight? Of course, we Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, we are also seeing this such sight in the Kali Yuga. It's very common, uh, in especially in the Western countries. It's very common. But why Ajamila couldn't control that? Suddenly he became so overwhelmed by it. So in the verse it is mentioning, what is that? Jagama Rachaya Vasham. Rachaya is basically within the heart, it's there, dormant within the heart. So similar instances have been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially about the Shaubari Muni. Shaubari Muni, how he fell down from his exalted tapasvi yogic position. That just by seeing the lowest creature of fish. So fish is considered to be one of the lowest creatures. It comes even below the plants. It's most one of the most lowest creature. Of course, we also see so many lower animals, having this intercourse. So sometimes we see mosquitoes or sometimes dog in the street. So, but we are not disturbed. But Shaubari Muni is underwater. He is doing the tapasya. Just by seeing the fish, his his mind is agitated. So there also these desires are there inside the heart. So we will see why this dormant desires are coming out. So similarly, we see in the Shastra many examples. Chavana Muni or Rishyashinga. Then, of course, Yayati, maybe so many Pururava. So many stories are there. Even Brahma saw his daughter and he got bewildered. So it's the lesson to be learned that Maya doesn't spare anyone in the material world. That's the whole thing. Uh, it's like it is said it's the war between a devotee and the Maya, and each one will understand what is the weakness of the opposite army. So Maya knows where exactly to hit, because she knows that we have so many weaknesses within us, and in order to win over Maya, we should also know her weakness. But she has, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way we take, she has only one weakness. What is her weakness? Her weakness is she is surrendered to Krishna. So only way to win her is taking shelter of Krishna. But we have many anarthas. So she exactly knows how to provoke the situations where the conditioned soul becomes succumb to the situations where it is again continuing its existence in the material world. So she has the two potencies, the avarananika shakti and prakshepatmika shakti. So in the beginning, she will try to cover the knowledge of course, when we are speaking, we generally speak of the devotees, because however, the materialistic people, they are interested more or less in the sense gratification, and they have given the liberty to Maya, that however she wants to deal with in their life, they are open for it. But when it comes to devotees' life, they're really trying to surrender to Krishna. So Maya, what does she do? She will first try to cover the knowledge. Jnanino nitya dehina. or other verse we have uh, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, right? That Avratam Jnanametena Jnanino Nitya Vairina. So, in that verse, basically, Jnana, she covers. That is the Avarna Atmika Shakti. But it doesn't work. She has another potency, which is Prakshepatmika Shakti. Using that, she throws an opportunity towards the conditioned soul. And this conditioned soul, when the opportunity is thrown, because basically this our Prakshepatmika Shakti is throwing into the material existence by, it's a throwing potency. So she throws some opportunity or some temptations in such a way that conditioned souls is tempted or provoked by such situations to engage in that sense gratificatory activities. And it, when it engages in the sense gratification, then it continues its existence in the material world. So basically, even in the Bhagavad Gita also, third chapter, it in detail it explains. So Arjuna asks Krishna, Atakyena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichan api vashneya balad iva niyojitaha. O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one compelled to sinful activities, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? What is that force? Arjuna is asking. That even unwillingly, the man of intelligence who is trying to control this force, he is not able to control it. So, what Krishna is answering? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. So, what is that force? Bhagavan Krishna, what is telling? Kama Esha Krodha Esha. It is lust only. Krishna, which is born of contact with material mode of passion. So basically, if we see the picture here, we have the spiritual world and we have the material world. In the spiritual world, of course, we can understand this with the analogy of the tree, which we see on the right side. So, right side, the tree is there and the bushes are there, the land is there, the sun, everything we see real. Of, and down, we see the reflection of the tree in the river. So, reflection is also real, but suppose say one throws the stone in the water, what happens that reflection? It is not seen properly. So that the nature of the material world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. It's temporary and not not of any pleasurable things are there. It's made of dukhalaya. So, in this spiritual world, everything is full of knowledge, full of the eternal, and it's full of bliss or happiness. So, basically, there completely prema is there. So, what uh, he, Krishna is telling in this verse, which is the lust which is born with the material mode of passion. So, how, what exactly happens? In the spiritual world, there is a prema. And when it is reflected, downward, or exact word is the perverted and mixes with the rajoguna or mode of passion becomes kama. So that is exactly the kama. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the definitions of kama and prema is given. Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kama, Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare prema nama. So gratifying my own senses is kama, and the same tendency, the energy is the same. We have to see that the attitude, just we need to divert from I me mind to Krishna. That's the whole idea of all our spiritual practices. So from I me mind, we channelize all the desires towards Krishna. That is giving pleasure to Krishna's senses. Instead of my own senses, giving pleasure to Krishna's senses, that is prema. So, Rashikena, Rashikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. So, the whole idea that what we practice, the whole chanting or Navamida Bhakti, everything, to change this attitude of gratifying our own senses to give, to channelize it to giving pleasure to Krishna. So, but why does this tendency arise? Basically, in order to win over the lust, we have to understand what exactly is happening, how the lust is arising. So many verses are there explaining how the lust is arising. So Krishna Boliya ji Bhogwancha kare. So Bhogwancha kare means the tendency to enjoy myself independent of Krishna. Pashate Maya Tare Chapati Adar. Then the Maya suddenly captures the conditioned souls. Even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are seeing in the screen Krishna Bhuli Sei Jiva Anadi Bahirmukha Ataeva Maya Tare Deya Samsara Dukha. So what happens? Krishna Bhuli Sei Jiv, and it turns away, Bahirmukha, it turns away from Krishna. Turns away from Krishna means what? Turning away from the light, turning away from the knowledge. Then if we turn away from the sun, what will happen? We see our own shadow or the darkness. So Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andhakar Jahan Krishna Taha Nahi Mayar Adhikar. So where Krishna is there, there cannot be adhikar of Maya, or there is influence of Maya cannot be there. But the whole all the jivas in the material world are turning away from Krishna. Anadi Bahirmukha. Bahirmukha, from when it is happening? It is mentioned Anadi Kal, Anadi. From time immemorial, we have developed this tendency to turn away from Krishna. So, when we turn away from Krishna, Maya, the external energy of the Lord, illusory energy of the Lord, what she will do? She will give all the miseries, dukkha. Which kind of dukkha? Of the samsara dukkha. That means the miseries of the material existence in the form of adhyatmika, adidaivika, and adibhautika. So this is what is happening here. Ajamila also, he was married. You can see very shastrically he got married, taking the blessings of all the elders, and even he was respecting his parents before. And on he came to forest just to collect some fruits, flowers, and some kusha grass, and one more. It's mentioned in. in the Srimad Bhagavatam, another type of grass that's clearly mentioned what he came, why he came to forest. His intention was good only for yajna, for worship of the Lord. So he came to collect. But suddenly he saw this sight, and suddenly the dormant desire within the heart. So it is just like the dust, if the dusty water is there. Sometimes the dust goes and collects in the below, and the water looks very pure. Mm. So just like this Ajamila, he was practicing all pure practices of Sandhya Vandan and all the Brahminical activities, everything pure activities. But suddenly, if one throws the stone in that water, what happens? The mud in settled in the bottom, it comes up and it mixes, and the whole water is now looking muddy. So the same way, the desires are there within the heart, and Rachaya. So in the core of the heart, the desires are there. And just by seeing the activity or the activities which the Shudra is doing with the prostitute, his all the dormant desires came on the surface level, and it is mentioned that he could not control. He could not control the his heart became very weak, and lusty desires awakened, and he fell under complete illusion, it is said. And here, Srila Prabhupada, actually, in throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning how we have to overcome lust. So many techniques or so many things which we have to practice to overcome lust. So many, no, throughout it is explained. But basically, it is and mentioned it is by the mercy of the Lord. It happens. So even Prahlad Maharaj, what he says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsa Pita Vishnu Bhaktis Chen Namay Lakshanaha Priyeta Bhagavati Adha Tanmanne Aditham Uttamam. So actually, if we see every conditioned souls, they have the prema inside. Krishna prema, it's inside the heart. So, but just because with the contact of this external material energy, the conditioned souls, the Jivatma, identifies with this world and thinks whatever belonging to my body, and in terms of body, it's thinking. And what is happening uh, when it is thinking in terms of the body? There is a verse. Yeah, thinking in terms of the body, it identifies with the external world or the material world and thinks that this world is belonging to. So there is, I think, another verse which I wanted to show, but it's not there. Okay, anyhow. Um, अतो ग्रह क्षेत्रम सुताप्त विद्येर जनस्य मोहोयम अहम ममेति. So when we think in terms of I, me, mine, then it gets extended. My wife, my children, my house, so my land. So ata graha kshetra means where I born, and my home land, my country. Suta, the children, apta, relatives, with their the money and possessing or possessions, the house and the asti, whatever. uh, then what happens? Janasya moha. Moha means that bonding which covers, because of when one is lusty, this moha is there. So this is the energy. Lusty external energy. The jivatma is under the control of this external energy. He feels moha. Janasya moho yam aham mama iti. Aham mama. So I, me, mine, he thinks. So basically, the whole material existence is based on this principle of janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Even Prahlad Maharaj, what he says, yanmaithunadi grahamedi sukham hitucham. So we can see the exalted consciousness of Sri Prahlad Maharaj here. The materialistic think that the highest pleasure in the material world is the kama or the sex desire. Here, uh, Prahlad Maharaj is telling what? Sukham hi tucham. Tucham means very insignificant. So highest pleasure of the material world, where everyone is dying for. In there, people are working day and night. Nidraya hiyate vaktan vyavayena cha vavayah. So if we see in that verse, the materialist person, the Grahamedi, he works throughout the day. He spends in working very hard to collect money so that in the night he can enjoy the sex, enjoying the sex life. Kutumba Bharane Nama. So the whole materialistic people, they are mad after this. Maithuna. This is also, this word is called Maithuna Agara. So yan Maithunadi Grahamedi Sukham Hitucham Kandu Yanena Karayor Iva Dukka Dukkam Traptyanti Neha Krapana Bahudukka Baja Kandu Tivan Manasijam Vishaheta Dhiraha. So, how to control the lust? We have to become Dhira. Dhira. So, how to become Dhira? So, we have to understand how the lust is, where the lust is, it is situated. So, we understand that it is like calm one when it is like a fire, kama agni. So avratam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kama rupena kaunteya dushpurena analena cha. So it is never satisfied. So even if one engages in it, it is never satisfied. So first, and we have to understand, when we want to defeat the enemy, we have to understand where he is located. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadishtanam uchyate eter vimohayati hesha jnanam avratya dehinam. So how it covers the jnana? Because it's situated in the indriya, mana, buddhi. Then in the Kali Yuga, it is there in the whole atmosphere. So when the external provocations are coming, the dormant desires are there within the heart. It is getting awakened. So it's very easy in Kali Yuga, because external provocations are so much that it is very easy. If we have the desire inside, we get easily awakened. So how to control it? So actually, uh, Srila Prabhupada is in this section of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, third canto, I think third chapter. We can read this beautifully, how he is telling. And in the last verse, I think last verse, yeah, here it is, he's telling. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana jai shatrum mahabhava kamarupam durashadam. How we have to control? Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, Arjuna. One should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence or Krishna consciousness, and thus by the strength of thus by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So it happens only in the stage of prema. So, of course, bhava, in the bhava, what happens? Hmm, Basically, in bhava, only the traces of aparadas, very slight Vaishnava aparadas are remaining, nothing else, even not even the effects of anarthas or avidya, not much influence. Only the traces of aparadas, slight traces of aparadas might be remaining, and slight avidya because of those aparadas are there in the bhava stage. And basically, because of the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maybe one may fall down. Otherwise, there is no fall down from bhava stage. Generally, 99% one who reaches bhava stage doesn't fall down. And of course, in the prema stage, completely he has attained the perfection. So only in those stages one can completely control, or completely, we cannot say control in that stage, because in that stage it's natural that one is loving Krishna, and one is loving Krishna, then these lower tendencies are not so much there. The devotee doesn't give importance also. Of course, the thoughts will be coming. The thoughts will be coming. That's why what Yamunacharya is praying, it's very important. Uh, Yadhavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde nava nava rasa dhamani udyatam rantumasi tadhavadi bata nari sangame Smaryamane. That actually Yamunacharya was uh, previously he was the king. So when he was king, he used to, of course, there sometimes it will be dharmic also. So we cannot condemn always. So, but the whole idea is that uh, the desires of sex, it is Srila Prabhupada always mentioned it cannot go hand in hand. So the material sense gratification and the spiritual realization, it cannot go hand in hand. So that is why the material sense gratification is always the blocking stone in the path of spiritual realizations. So always, that's why one should completely avoid the sense gratification. So here he is mentioning, I used to have this sense gratification, but when I got this taste for the Krishna Padaravinde and Navanava Rasadhamni. So when I am completely engaged in the service of lotus feet of Lord Krishna, then I am getting every day different Navanava Rasa. That means different taste I am getting in the service. Then what happens? Then Nari Sangame Smaryamante, then what when he thinks of the this Nari Sangame, that looks very, so he is telling, I spit at the thought. So, so here also we can understand that only by developing the taste for serving lotus feet of Lord Krishna. When we Nava Rasa, when we develop those taste for serving Krishna, then only the lust can be, uh, it looks insignificant, or the tucham, or just like Yamunacharya is spitting at the thought, one can feel those emotions. or bhava. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. So here, Ajamila's story was totally different. In future verses, we see that how, you know, Ajamila is falling down. He is springing slowly. That he gets attached to that prostitute because he saw her, and her dresses were also loosened, and see, he is completely bewildered by lust, and he completely captivated, and he doesn't consult anyone. It means he doesn't take anybody's help. See, basically, we should understand that we cannot completely suppress the lust. Mm, we cannot completely suppress the lust. It comes in a different form because dormant desires are there. It completely bursts out. At the same time, we cannot give in to lust. So then, how to win over lust? So we have to basically understand the real positions of the opposite sex, real position of ourselves, real position of this material world, the sambandha jnana, the abhideya jnana. When we realize these things, then we can easily overcome lust. Because Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam raso varja rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. If we artificially try to suppress Vishaya vinivartante, nirahara, if we do nirahara, no, I will not do, I will not do, no, 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 it bursts out. Niraharasya dehinam. But what exactly one does? Rasopyasya rajo, the niraharasya dehinam. Param drishtva nivartate basically means we have to develop the higher taste, just like a Navanava Rasa Dhamni, how Yamunacharya developed those tastes for devotional activities. Similarly, we have to develop the higher taste, especially for the chanting and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. When we develop the higher taste, then it becomes very natural to give up these lower tendencies or the lower nature or the lower desires, because the desires, I mean, the Krishna prema is also there within the heart. It's not the only material desires are there. Nitya Siddha Krishna prema sadhya kabunaya Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udaya. So Krishna prema is also there within the heart. Just what we have to do is just awaken that Krishna prema that's within our heart. So basically, it starts with Shramanam and Kirtanam. The spiritual master after Diksha, he engages the disciples in various these 9 processes of devotional service according to the inclinations of the disciple. Some disciples may be inclined to Archanam or Vandanam or Sakyam. So initially, the spiritual master trains these disciples. So basically, ultimately, one has to come to the point of chanting the holy name 24 hours a day. So that is why basically the most important anga of the bhakti is Shravanam, Kirtanam. And in Shravanam, we have two. That is hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we are chanting, we have to hear. That is one hearing. And then second, hearing the transcendental form, qualities, pastimes of Krishna that we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Shushusho Shraddhadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. When we hear Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, we develop the Vasudeva Kataruchi. That is hearing. Then we have sadhana practice of culturing the holy name. When initially we may be practicing Nama Parad. So the whole section of this Srimad Bhagavatam is to glorify the holy name. How Ajamila chanted only one name at the time of his death, Narayana, then the Vishnu Dutas came. So we have to understand the glories of the holy names. And we may be chanting. Many of us are chanting, or maybe all of us are chanting. But what kind of nama we are chanting? There are five kinds of nama. Nama aparada stage, nama bhasa, shuddha nama, bhava nama, prema nama. Then one may ask, what is the difference between shuddha nama, prema nama? So that's a deep subject matter, but basically one has to come to prema nama. So that is the whole thing. We may be thinking we are chanting, but how we are chanting, we have to assess and come out of all the offenses, nama aparada stage. And Ajamila chanted the nama bhas. So we have, being devotees, we should also come above namabhasa, shuddhanam, bhavanam, premanam. Then our goal is Krishna prema. So to get Krishna prema. So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will, it's like Chintamani. Whatever we desire, we get it. So our goal should be Krishna prema. Not that I want money, I want recognition, I want pat on the back, and everybody should do Jai Jaikara to me. Not all these desires, or even the lusty desires. No, all these desires, we want to give it up, and we want to, our goal is getting Krishna prema. So for that, we have to come to the stage of chanting prema nam. So how we have to come to that? There is a whole, we have to understand the Nama Tattva, we have to understand Sambandha Jnan, we have to understand Abhideya Jnan, how to do Abhideya under the guidance of the spiritual master. The Diksha Guru gives Sambandha Jnan, then Shiksha Guru gives the Abhideya Jnan. So all this we have to understand. Then only we can raise to Shuddhanam. Then from Shuddhanam rise higher to Bhavanam and Premanam. So the whole process, we are practicing, of course we are practicing, but while practicing we have to introspect how we are practicing, and we have to continuously improve and come up in the Krishna consciousness. But Ajamila got bewildered. He did not take any help. He did not consult any Shiksha Guru or advanced devotees, or any, even not even his parents. So he fell down from his position. So that should not happen. So when holy name is, it comes in our life, then what? Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agam dhunvanti karsnen niharam eva bhaskaraha. How the, when the sun comes, the fog, all the fog that is there, it goes away. So when the holy name reveals himself to us completely, then we can see the supreme personality of Godhead completely, and even we can understand his form, his qualities, and his pastimes, and attain the highest perfection of Krishna Prema. So to summarize shortly, Ajamila was a learned Brahmana. He was pure also, but because of seeing the sight of the Shudra embracing the prostitute, his dormant desire that is awakened. So basically, Maya, that illusory potency, it bewilders everyone, including, it doesn't see whether one is a Brahmana or whether one is an animal. Everyone in the material world, even for the pure devotees, it influences. But pure devotees, they respond in totally different way, completely devotional way. Even the influence is there. So it has two potencies, Avaranatmika potency and the Prakshepatmika potency. So when conditioned soul is completely bewildered by these potencies, he engages in the sense gratification. But when one is understanding the superior nature. Raso vrja rasopisam param dashtva nivartate. One gets the higher taste. Uh, Even in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, by spiritual strength, by Krishna consciousness, mm, by mind can be controlled only when we focus the mind completely on Krishna. That is the only way to control the mind. So when we develop that higher taste for Krishna consciousness or attachment to Krishna is there, then this lower nature will automatically, mm, it will be there. Doesn't mean it will go away. These thoughts will come, just like it used to come even to Yamunacharya when he became pure. But these thoughts doesn't, disturb much the pure devotees. It is because the pure devotees can easily say no and respond completely in a devotional way. So for that, we need to come to the stage of Swarupa Siddhi, or the end of Bhava is Swarupa Siddhi, and then the Prema. Right. So until then, the effects of lust will be there in the decreasing man. As we go higher, after Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti, only almost gross anarthas are gone. Only the subtle anarthas are there in Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti. Of course, in Bhava and Prema, it's almost, Bhava is almost perfection and Prema is perfection. That's our goal, to attain Krishna Prema. Let's come endeavor for it in the association of devotees. So for that, we have to serve the pure devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments, corrections?
Thank you very much, Madhav Sharan Prabhu, for the very nice class. I request the devotees to share their comments or questions, please, or reflections.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandot Pranam. At what stage of bhakti he was Prabhu Ajamila?
Basically, this in the Madhurya Kadambini, it is mentioned the different stages. So, this gross sexual desires, if it is there, that is still Anartha Nivritti stage. So,
Okay.
even though one may be practicing bhakti, but the Anartha Nivritti to Nishta one comes when one that is away from these gross sexual desires. That is the parameter. We can even see in our own life. So when one is having the strong desire for intercourse, when Maithunadi Grahamedi, so Maithunadi, so that desire is there, one is still in Anartha Nivritti stage. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just one follow-up comment on that, Prabhu. I was of the understanding that Ajamila was actually a pious Brahmin, but he was not kind of following Vaishnava or something like that. Only strength was he was actually having a very strong pious foundation because of the sanskaras followed by him.
Yes.
But is he practicing Vaishnava or something like that, Prabhu?
Of course, when one is practicing, of course, there are different types of Brahmana, and I don't know whether it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam what kind of Brahmanas he was, because there are even some impersonalistic Brahmanas or some other. But basically, in one of the, I think somewhere in Shastras, it's mentioned, no, like some sages come to his house and he treats them very nicely. So because of that only, he was able to chant Narayana at the end of his life. And Vishnu Dutas came. So Vishnu Dutas came. So generally Vishnu Dutas, they come when one is a Vaishnava, right? So even if one is worshipping in the impersonal way, definitely they will not go to Vaikuntha planets or they may a maximum attain Brahmajyoti. So we cannot speculate. I'm really not sure what kind of Brahmana he was, but definitely that devotional aspect was there in his life. So that is the reason he was able to chant the holy name, and also Vishnu Dutas came. So, but as far as the stages are considered, uh, more or less by default, everybody is up to Anartha Nivrati, that stages is there because of full of anarthas, right? So only Anartha Nivrati happens only when some one surrenders to the spiritual master. So that is so. What I understand, when he is doing the kamya karma and other things, so definitely that samskara was there, and that I think I cannot speculate, but by the story of that serving the sadhus, we can understand that some devotional aspects were there in his life along with the Brahminical aspect. This is my understanding, Prabhu. So maybe some other senior devotees can comment also, or you can also comment.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I make some whatever understanding I have? Can I make it here,
Sure,
Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, sure.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for the class, Prabhuji. Ajamila was not performing any devotional service when he was about to leave the body. Correct now, because he got an association of a prostitute, and because of that prostitute association, he was completely fallen down. He has left his wife also. But because of the Agnata Skriti, he was a Brahmin and he was performing a lot of pious activities and even devotional service to some extent. He was doing it when he was a Brahmana, when he was a young boy. Because of the, all these things comes because before the chapter, this hellish planet comes, and even at that time, Parikshit Maharaj would be so this one. He says that even a small mistake, if they do, so much of karma, they have so much of sufferings they have to go. All those things, it comes. Then at that point of time, Sukadeva Goswami also comes out that even that type of thing is one type of that is that one type of extreme. But we have another type where even if the person takes the name of the Lord sin offenselessly, also he will be delivered. For that he gives this example, this particular episode, and where he gives that complete this one. That name he will be able to utter, that Narayana name he will be able to utter because of his previous because of his previous devotional service what he had with the Lord. Because of that he gets that this one, and that too he doesn't call the Lord Narayana, he calls his son Narayana. But because it will be offenseless when he's calling it, that's why it comes there, and that's what Sukadeva Goswami finally says, that even if a person takes the name of the Lord sincerely without even touching the Lord, that this type of this one also will come. This is my understanding, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
correct. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions that when he is constantly chanting his last son, Narayana, Narayana. So those anarthas are going away, right? So that anartha nivriti. First he was in anartha nivriti stage. That's where the anartha nivriti used to happen. And when he completely chants last Narayana when he at his deathbed, that's the point where he's chanted the Namabhas. So generally, Namabhas is chanted at the end of Anartha Nivrati or in the beginning of Nishta stage, right? So basically, he was in that stage. Anarthas were there. He was constantly calling the name of Narayana, last son, and this Anartha Nivriti used to happen slowly. So on that basis, I mentioned he was in Anartha Nivriti stage. So it's Srila Prabhupada mentions it. So and he's chanting. So and Srila Prabhupada also mentions that that's the reason in previous time they used to keep the name of Keshava, some name of Krishna, right? Krishna Das or Narayana Das, like that. That Srila Prabhupada mentions that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, some purport in the some verse. So if we read that. So on that basis, he was constantly chanting the name of his last son Narayana. So his anarthas used to go. And when he chanted Narayana completely helpless, that was Namabhas. So completely his all previous sins and pious activities, all the karmas are gone there. So because one Namabhas, one name of Krishna can completely eradicate, the Namabhas holy name can completely eradicate the papa and punya of that completely karma, right? So one is then completely free of sinful activities. That is the reason. And also when he was completely free of sin, that is the reason he was not taken to Yamaloka. So he was given the another chance to practice further bhakti. So from that point where almost end of Anartha Nivritti, where he is completely free from the karmic reactions, from that point he restarts his bhakti. And at the end of I think 12 years in Haridwar, or the Vaikuntha plane come, the Vishnu Dutas come to take him to Vaikuntha planet. So that means from that point he perfected his life. He attained perfection. That is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. This is my understanding. Hare Krishna. So are there any other questions?
Any other questions from devotees? Okay, I think Prabhuji, there are no questions, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class and the insight, especially for the practicing devotees, how we should be, what aspect we can learn from here. I think everything is pointing to the fundamental, the power of our intensity of our chanting is the basic foundation. So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the very nice.
Thank you so much.
Then today's session with Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya उपासिन्दुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। निरंतरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। Take study devotees. I will end the session now. Tomorrow morning we will meet at the same time, 7:15. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Krishna,